Here's a painful truth. Thousands of men over 50 are being emotionally destroyed every single day, and they don't even realize it. And the one doing the damage, it's not the job, not the bills. It's often the very woman they love the most. I want you to stay with me, because by the end of this video, I'll share a powerful mindset shift that helped me walk away from a woman who was breaking me, and open the door to peace, strength, and a brand new chapter of life I didn't think was possible. Listen, I know you tried. You gave her your time, your patience, your loyalty. But if any of these signs are showing up, you're not just in a relationship. You're in emotional survival mode, and that's not love. That's slow self-destruction. So why do we stay? Because we're hopeful. Because we don't want to be alone, because we think it's too late to start over. But here's the truth. What's worse than starting over at 60 is dying slowly in something that no longer feeds your soul. So, before we dive in, tap that subscribe button if you're a strong man who's ready to reclaim his peace, rebuild his confidence, and understand how women really work after 45. Comment, "I'm ready," if this speaks to you. I read every comment. Now, let's get into the 3 signs she's destroying you and why you must let her go. Sign number 1. You no longer feel safe to be yourself around her. There's a moment in every broken relationship when you stop recognizing the person staring back at you in the mirror. You used to be light-hearted, confident, a man who cracked jokes, shared stories, and didn't overthink every word that left his mouth. But now, you hesitate, you double-check your tone, you silence your opinions, not because you're afraid of being wrong, but because you're afraid of her reactions, her moods, the cold shoulder, the sarcasm, the nights of silence that follow a simple disagreement. And slowly, without realizing it, you start editing yourself, you shrink, you stop talking about what matters to you. You stop challenging her even when something feels off. You stop bringing up that you're unhappy, because last time you did. She made you feel guilty for ruining the mood. That's not communication. That's walking on emotional landmines every single day. That's not love. That's quiet emotional warfare. And brother, I've been there. I remember sitting across from the woman I loved, knowing that if I brought up anything even slightly honest, I'd be punished for days, so I said nothing. I smiled. I lied, not in words, but in silence. And every time I swallowed how I really felt, I lost another piece of myself, until one day I looked in the mirror and saw a man I didn't recognize. A man who used to lead, now just followed. A man who used to speak his mind, now just nodded and kept the peace. If you can't be you in your own relationship, then who are you even doing this for? A real woman, the right woman, will never make you feel like your truth is a threat. She'll hold space for you. She'll respect your voice, not punish it. If you're constantly anxious, walking on eggshells, avoiding the real talk just to keep the peace, then there is no peace, and that's your first sign. It's not you losing your edge. It's not you overthinking. It's your soul whispering, "You're not safe here anymore." Sign number 2. You're giving everything and getting almost nothing back. There's a kind of tired that no sleep can fix, and that's the exhaustion of being the only one fighting for a relationship. You wake up early, handle the errands, plan the weekend, remember the little details. Try to make her smile, and somehow it's still not enough. You reach out for connection and get met with indifference. You bring her coffee, cook dinner, initiate conversation, and in return, you get short answers, cold glances, or worse, silence that cuts deeper than words. And the cruelest part, you start wondering what's wrong with you. You start blaming yourself. Maybe you didn't try hard enough. Maybe you said something wrong. Maybe you're just not lovable anymore. But brother, I'm here to tell you, it's not about how much more you can give, because in the right relationship, love is not a performance. You shouldn't have to earn warmth. You shouldn't have to audition for affection. When a woman cares, she meets you halfway. Maybe not every day, but over time, love feels like a dance, not a chase, but in the wrong Relationship. The more you chase, the more she pulls away, and suddenly, you're not a man anymore. You're a provider, a fixer, a peacekeeper, and you're running on emotional fumes. You smile through the ache, hold back the tears, and tell yourself to be strong. But inside, you feel invisible. And when a man starts to feel invisible in his own home, when his kindness goes unnoticed, and his effort unappreciated, something inside him begins to fade. That fire, the one that once made him magnetic, powerful, whole, dims with every moment he's overlooked. I've seen it too many times. I've lived it. And I'll say this. With love, if you're doing all the emotional heavy lifting, if you're pouring from an empty cup just to keep someone else full, you are not in love. You are in servitude. And that's not what you were made for. You were made to be a man who is seen, heard, appreciated, not tolerated, not used, not drained. So if your relationship feels more like a transaction than a connection, that's your second sign. You're not thriving, you're surviving, and you deserve better. Sign number 3, she doesn't respect you anymore. And deep down, you know it. There's a moment, subtle but unforgettable, when you feel it shift, that look in her eyes when you speak, like your words no longer matter, the rolled eyes, the sighs, the sarcastic tone, the way she cuts you off mid-sentence or talks over you in front of others. It doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in slowly, and then one day you realize she doesn't admire you anymore. She barely even sees you. What was once curiosity has turned into contempt. And here's the truth that no one likes to say out loud. Once respect leaves the relationship, love doesn't stick around much longer, because love without respect, it turns into control, into power games, into subtle jabs that eat away at your confidence until you start questioning your own worth. And the tragedy is, many men tolerate it. We excuse it. We say, she's just stressed. She doesn't mean it. It's just how she talks. But meanwhile, something inside us is breaking, quietly, repeatedly, and over time, you stop speaking up. You stop sharing your wins, your fears, your dreams. Because what's the point? She'll just brush them off. Or worse, make you feel stupid for having them. I remember a man once told me, "She used to be proud of me. Now she just corrects me." That line haunted me, because I've felt it too. That ache when the person you love doesn't look at you like a man anymore, but like a problem to manage. And you know what hurts more than anything? When you begin to believe it, when you let her behavior define your identity. But here's what I want to say to you, brother, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you accept disrespect, you're showing her that your peace, your pride, your manhood don't matter, but they do. You do. You are still worthy of being spoken to with kindness. You are still deserving of admiration, and you don't have to earn respect by begging for it. You reclaim it by drawing the line. So if her words cut deeper, and then silence if you feel small, unseen, disrespected, that's not love. That's erosion, and it's the third, final, and most dangerous sign. She doesn't respect you anymore. And unless you walk away, you'll forget how to respect yourself. The quiet killer, hope. And here's where it gets really painful, not because of what she did, but because of what you kept hoping she might do. You see, hope can be beautiful. Hope can keep a man going through the darkest nights, but in the wrong hands, hope can become a slow poison. You hoped she'd come back around. You hoped things would return to how they once were, back when her eyes lit up when you entered the room, when her touch was gentle, when your voice still mattered. You hoped that if you stayed kind, stayed strong, stayed steady, one day she'd realize your worth again, and so day after day you gave her another chance and then another and another, not because she changed, but because you hoped she would. But brother, let me say this clearly. Hope is not a strategy for healing. Hope in a toxic dynamic keeps you standing in a burning house because you believe maybe, just maybe, the fire will put itself out. But while you're hoping, The flames are eating away at your peace, your energy, your identity, and here's the worst part. The longer you stay, the more you forget who you used to be. The man who used to laugh freely, the man who had dreams, friendships, purpose. You start to feel like your entire value depends on whether or not she treats you with warmth that day. You lose your center, and I know walking away feels like giving up. It feels like failure. But let me offer a reframe. What if walking away isn't quitting, but finally choosing yourself? What if the greatest act of strength isn't holding on, but knowing when your spirit has had enough? Because staying in something that breaks you just because you're afraid to start again isn't loyalty. It's self-abandonment. And I promise you, no matter how late in life it feels, it's never too late to come home to yourself. It's never too late to say, this isn't love anymore and I deserve better. Hope can keep you going, but sometimes it also keeps you stuck. And there comes a moment where you must ask, is this really love, or just fear in disguise? What to do if you're seeing these signs, the gentle exit plan? If those signs hit home, if your heart sank a little while reading, then maybe this is the moment you stop trying to fix what keeps breaking you. And maybe, for the first time in a long time, you choose to step back, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with quiet strength, because leaving doesn't always have to mean slamming doors or screaming matches. Sometimes the most powerful exit is the one that's calm, clean, and clear. The first step, start coming back to yourself emotionally, financially, spiritually. You don't have to pack a bag tonight, but you do need to start separating your life from hers. Little by little, reclaim your space, your thoughts, your priorities. Create a small reserve, money, support, energy. You're not leaving from panic. You're preparing from peace. Next, when the time is right, speak the truth, not the blame. This isn't about tearing her down. It's about standing tall and saying, we're no longer good to each other, and I can't keep losing myself. To make this work, don't argue, don't defend, just say what's real. Then, and this is the hardest part, cut contact. 30 days, 60 if you can. No texts, no checking her social media, no just seeing how you're doing. Your nervous system needs quiet, your heart needs distance, because if you keep reopening the wound, it will never heal. And finally, leave with gratitude, not resentment. Thank the experience for what it taught you. Thank yourself for surviving. You don't need to hate her to move on. You just need to love yourself enough to let go. The secret that helped me let go and love. Again, I'll never forget that night. I was sitting alone in the dark, staring at the ceiling, feeling more empty than I ever had in my life. The house was quiet, but my mind, loud with questions, doubts, regret, and one painful thought. Is this really it? Is this what love is supposed to feel like now? The truth is, I didn't stop loving her, but somewhere along the way, I stopped loving me. And that night I did something simple, but life-changing. I grabbed a notebook, opened to a blank page, and wrote just one line. I can't control who stays, but I can control who I become when they leave. That line became my anchor. Letting go wasn't easy. The mornings were quiet, the nights were lonelier than I imagined. But slowly, quietly, something inside me began to return. I started hearing my own voice again. Not the one she silenced, but the one I had buried. I started laughing with old friends, going on walks, cooking meals just for me, not to impress anyone, not to win anyone back, just to feel human again. And then one day, not because I was searching, but because I was finally whole, I met someone new. She didn't need me to fix her. She didn't ask me to shrink. She simply saw me, the real me, the man I thought was long gone. And if it happened for me, brother, it can happen for you too. You are not too old, it is not too late. And no matter how long you've been stuck, you are still worthy of a love that feels like peace, not pressure. So if you're ready to stop breaking your back to hold on to the wrong person, and finally choose yourself, do this. Hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is for you, the man who's ready to rebuild, reconnect, and rise stronger in the second half of life. Drop a comment below if this spoke to your heart. Rid everyone, and your story matters. Let go, not because the love wasn't real, but because you're ready to love yourself like never before.